Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. Hey everyone, I need to get something off my chest and see if I'm in the wrong here. So, I, 24, female, am getting married to the love of my life, 29, and it was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. But things took an unexpected turn when my father-in-law, let's call him Ron, demanded I serve him and his guests at my wedding. Yes, you heard that right. He actually said that it was my duty as a good daughter-in-law to serve him and our guests food and drinks throughout the wedding. I couldn't believe what I was hearing at first, and I assumed that he was joking, but he was dead serious. I told him that it was not something I'm comfortable with, and I don't want to do it on my wedding day. I mean, what kind of backward thinking is that? I was raised to believe that a wedding is a celebration of love between two people, not a way for one person's family to assert their dominance over the other. But here we are. So I made it clear to him that I will not be his servant on my wedding day or any other day, to be clear. I told him that I'm marrying his son, not him, and therefore he has no right to request me to do anything. He threw a tantrum after that. Ron was super mad and told me that he was outraged that I would refuse his request. He said he thinks he was being very reasonable and that I'm just a bad daughter-in-law. He even told me if I'm not willing to fulfill his request, he doesn't think I should be marrying his son at all. I asked him if he thought his opinion would matter to my fiancé. He said yes, that my fiancé, I'll call him Dan, would definitely side with him on this issue and that he most definitely would listen to my father-in-law if he demanded that the wedding should be stopped. I had to hold in a laugh at that point. No way Dan is going to cancel the wedding because of my not fulfilling his father's stupid request. I told Dan about his dad's tantrum and what he had requested, and I was right. He agreed with me that his father is acting unreasonably and doesn't have the right to request me to serve him on our wedding day. He promised to talk to his dad and try to convince him that it was not appropriate for me to serve guests at our wedding reception. But it didn't go as planned. When my fiancé talked to his dad, Ron was extremely upset and accused us of disrespecting him and his traditions. He said that as his son's future wife, it was my responsibility to serve him and his guests, and if I refused to do so, it was a sign that I didn't respect him or his family. My fiancé tried to reason with him, but it was no use. His dad just got angrier and even threatened to boycott our wedding if I didn't comply with his demand. It was a nightmare. To make matters worse, his dad also started spreading rumors about me to other family members, saying that I was a disrespectful and ungrateful person who didn't care about their traditions or culture. I felt so hurt and frustrated that he was making me out to be the bad guy when all I wanted was to have a wedding day that felt true to me and my fiancé. Now, some of our other family members are taking Ron's side, and it's causing a lot of tension and drama. I feel like everyone is blaming me for something that's not my fault. I just want to marry the person I love and have a wedding day that reflects who we are as a couple. Am I the a-hole for refusing to serve my future father-in-law and his guests? Update 1. Wow. Thank you so much for all the support and advice on my last post. I read every single comment, and I appreciate all of you taking the time to respond. My fiancé and I have decided to uninvite his dad from the wedding. It was Dan's idea to do this, not mine. I didn't want to have to get to this point, but I think it's better this way. At least we'll have our peace without Ron causing drama. Obviously, Ron didn't take the news well, but he didn't have a choice but to accept it. Dan and I are excited about our wedding day now. I can't wait. Update 2. Things did not go well on my wedding day. On the day of the wedding, Ron arrived at the venue with a large group of his friends, people I'd never seen in my life, and he immediately started to demand that I serve them. I was absolutely shocked and disgusted that he had ignored our request for him to not come to the wedding, and I refused to comply. I didn't want to make a big scene, though, so I chose to ignore the fact that Ron had come to the wedding and brought people that I didn't even know. I guess that was a mistake on my part. As we were leaving the reception, Ron approached us and started yelling at us in front of everyone. He accused me of being disrespectful and ungrateful and even threatened to disown his son if he didn't side with him. Dan, despite everything, stood up for me. He told his father that he would not tolerate his behavior and that Ron had to leave immediately. I was relieved that he had my back, but the situation was still tense. The rest of the night was a blur. My in-laws left the wedding early and my husband and I were left to deal with the aftermath. The next few weeks were filled with tense conversations and hurt feelings, and I felt like I was walking on eggshells around my in-laws. I knew that my father-in-law's behavior had caused a rift in our relationship, but I never expected the fallout to be this bad. I was starting to regret not giving in to his demands and serving him at the wedding, but at the same time, I couldn't believe that he would demand such a thing from me on my wedding day. Update 3. Hey guys, I'm back with an update on my father-in-law's situation at my wedding. First of all, thank you for all your support and advice. It helped me stand my ground. So after the confrontation with my father-in-law at the wedding, I was feeling real down and upset. I didn't want to let his behavior ruin our special day, but it was hard to shake off. I was also worried about what everyone else was thinking since my father-in-law had been spreading lies about me being disrespectful and causing drama. But then, a few days later, something unexpected happened. My fiancé's brother, who had been quiet during the whole ordeal, gave me a call and told me that he was proud of me for standing up to their dad. He said that he had always wanted to do the same thing but was too scared, and that he wished he dared to do what I did. I was honestly shocked. I had always thought that my father-in-law's behavior was accepted and even expected in their family, but it turns out that not everyone agreed with him. It was a huge relief to know that I wasn't alone in my feelings. Apparently, Ron had a very explosive personality and has been known to cause some drama and issues in the family before. And then, the biggest surprise was that my fiancé's dad approached me and apologized. He said that he had been out of line and that he was just feeling emotional about his son getting married. He admitted that he had been wrong to demand that I serve him and that he understood he can't expect me to follow his cultural values if I don't want to. I was so stunned that I didn't know how to respond at first. I still felt like his reaction was weird for just feeling emotional over his son's marriage, but then I realized that this was the best outcome I could have hoped for. My father-in-law was willing to admit that he was wrong and apologize for his behavior, and that was a huge step forward. Since then, things have been a lot better between us. Ron and I have had a few more conversations where we've talked about our feelings and our expectations for our relationship going forward. We're not best friends or anything, but we have a better understanding of each other now. He told me that he's been feeling left out of our lives and our relationship since Dan hasn't been hanging out much with his dad anymore. They used to have a thing where they would go fishing together every weekend in summer, but Dan has been neglecting that quite a bit in the last couple of years. All in all, I feel like the situation has been resolved in the best way possible. I stood up for myself and didn't let anyone push me around, but I also remained open to reconciliation and understanding. When I made the last post on here, I didn't think everything would turn out fine. Thanks again for all the support and advice, guys. You helped me get through a tough situation. NTA, your father-in-law had no right to make such demands on your wedding day. It's your day, not his. And your fiancé did the right thing by standing up for you and supporting your decision. I'm glad you guys were able to come together and figure this out. It takes some maturity to apologize for stupid behavior, so props to Ron for apologizing in the end. Just because you're getting married in the family does not mean you are a personal servant. NTA, He was being sexist and demanding in his expectations of you. It's 2023, and we don't need to perpetuate these outdated gender roles. Your fiancé was right to stand by your side and support your decision. I feel bad for your mother-in-law, to be honest. The poor woman probably has to deal with weird requests like that all the time. Or maybe your parents are not together anymore, which I hope is the case in this situation. Next story. My wife currently has 3 degrees and honors in one of them. She is a stay-at-home mom currently, but our third child is now 3, so she recently brought up going back to uni to get her master's. The issue is we are broke. We have survived because of assistance from our parents when we are too far in the red. When we got together, she had 2 degrees. Soon after we got together, she quit her job to go back to uni. I supported her through this as I had the money from recently selling a house. When she finished, she was supposed to be super employable with 2 complementary degrees. She finished, but went back to casual work again. We then had our first child and bought a house. This exhausted all our savings. When our baby was 8 months, she went back to uni to do honors. Childcare pushed our budget, but was just achievable. After honors, she got part-time work in the field, but her hours were so low that it didn't cover the cost of parking and childcare. She stayed there until we had our second child. She hasn't worked since. I have sold any hobbies, equipment that has value and given up all my hobbies. The only discretionary spend we have left is her sport, which we try to maintain to give her an outlet away from the kids. When she brought up going back to uni, I simply asked how we could pay for it. We left it at that. Separately, we had discussed her going back to work as well, which we agreed to. She did apply for one job, but was unsuccessful in the final stage. When she told me she had applied and was successful, I thought she was going to get the job, so I wasn't upset financially, though a little miffed about not discussing it with me since it affects us both. She has told me that it has no cost because the fees can be deferred. She ignores any discussion about how we will afford childcare. There was a $95 application fee that pushed us overdrawn and got us a $250 fine. When she didn't get the job, she then said it was just good because she could go to uni now. I got upset asking how we could pay for it. She told me I should be congratulating her because the process was really long and hard. 4 months and several applications and interviews. And she had to do it by herself because she couldn't tell me as I would tell her not to do it. I agreed because we can't afford it, and she called me jealous because I couldn't go to uni, because I couldn't afford it. She comes from money. I do not. I accused her of being a professional student with no intention to work. I have also suggested I be a stay-at-home dad and she go back to work as her qualifications would enable her to earn roughly double what I can. But she refused because kids need their mother. She has no issue putting them into childcare, though. AITA? NTA, your wife sounds spoiled, and you're right about her being a professional student. You can't afford the children you have without financial assistance from your parents, but she avoids working. Your being a stay-at-home parent would be an excellent idea rather than pay for daycare because she has a much higher earning potential. But she quickly shut that down because she doesn't want to use her degrees to actually work. She may have blown the interview because she does not want to work. NTA, honestly, tell her you will quit your job and look after the kids and it's down to her now. Or I'd split up. Tell her the children need a roof over their heads. She doesn't need a 4th degree, and being with their dad is better than a childminder. You have every right to also be a stay-at-home parent. In fact, tell her you will split it 50-50 with her. You go part-time and she finds a part-time job. Or that she needs to run to her mommy and daddy and get some money, as you will no longer be the sole earner. Separate your finances. Don't let her overdraw and get you fined. Or tell her to ask her family to cover that fine. Also, tell her you won't pay for childcare. Her family can pay for that too. Next story. I, female 18, live at home with my parents and attend community college, so I can save up to transfer. My big sister, female 21, also lives at home but goes to a real college nearby. Her words. I've been looking for a part-time job and asked my sister if the restaurant she waitresses at has any openings. She said maybe, but that was a few weeks ago and I never followed up. Cut to the issue. She came to my room last week and asked me if I wanted to get lunch with her, and I said sure. I assumed we'd just go through the drive-through, so I wore fuzzy slippers, the outdoor kind, sweatpants, and a high school t-shirt, and my hair was kind of dirty in a bun. I wasn't expecting to see anyone. We've only ever gotten fast food together. We only eat at sit-down places with our parents. We pulled up to her restaurant, and I told her I wasn't really dressed for that, so could we eat somewhere else? She said to not worry about it, and we went in. She immediately went to say hi to her friend at the hostess stand and left me with her manager. I thought it was weird that the manager was standing in the front until she told me I was there for an interview. Apparently, my sister did get me an interview but thought it would be hilarious to embarrass me in front of her coworkers by catching me off guard. I was so shaken that I immediately said sorry, I wasn't expecting this, turned around and just left. At the time, my sister died laughing and didn't say much, but apparently she's now facing consequences at work because her manager's really upset at having her time wasted and thought what my sister did was unprofessional and not funny. I don't think she'll get fired, but she had her hours reduced and a formal write-up. Now, my sister's blaming me for making her look bad by not going through with the interview. Her friends have called me mean names, making me feel horrible, but I'm so torn. I haven't told my parents yet because I'm really embarrassed and I don't want to get in trouble. My friends are split between thinking I should have tried to be strong and finish the interview, but others are supportive of my decision. I don't know anymore. I'm just really confused. NTA, it was your sister who put you in this position. She thought it would be funny to humiliate you. I find jokes about you funny. Why don't you find jokes about you funny? So how is it your fault at all? You didn't say anything bad about your sister to the boss. You simply left. And your boss saw how your sister was dying laughing. What did your sister expect? That you go through an interview you weren't ready for, knowing that she, your sister, was trying to humiliate you? Show this message to your sister. She should apologize to you and have her friends that called you mean names and what business it is of theirs to apologize to you too. Avoid them in future. Be wary of your sister too, now that you know you can't trust her. Your friends are split. Dump those that support your sister. You were deliberately made to look like a fool. Anyone who can't see that, you should keep at a safe distance. Hey, sister, if I was your boss, I would fire you. What you did was mean and hateful, and I wouldn't want someone like that in my workplace. Learn to be a nicer person. You'll get further in life. Jokes at another person's expense are not jokes. NTA, nope. You didn't get the referrer in trouble. She got herself in trouble. She's trying to victimize herself so she doesn't have to acknowledge she was a shitty human being. You had no knowledge of the interview. Your sister purposely set it up that way to humiliate you. She behaved unprofessionally. Do you see the pattern here? It all points to your sister being a cruel, hateful, unprofessional person. She deserved the write-up and reduced hours at work because she purposely made the conscious choice to waste her manager's time. That alone was enough for her to be reprimanded. Not to mention, I'm sure it made the manager extremely uncomfortable and feeling awkward with your appearance and lack of knowledge of the interview. I'm guessing the manager probably felt horrified and embarrassed too. She's a 21-year-old. She's old enough to act like an adult instead of a 4-year-old. And truly, 4-year-olds have purer hearts and intentions. She was just cruel and malicious. I'd definitely inform your parents about it, even if they can't do anything about it since you're both adults. Letting her get away with her bad behavior by hiding it from them is never going to help her and only enables her malicious behavior. She will continue to emotionally abuse you if you don't set boundaries and refuse to tolerate her abuse. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.